Draft day, Johnny Manziel. 5 years later, how am I the man still?
Oh, that's a cold
Draft
open
day.
right there.
Hey, Wiggins. Screw that other side. We stay winning.
Jody on the mic.
Oh, man, you know I had to do it.
Hello and welcome back to the Second and Two podcast. I'm your host, TB. I got my co-host, producer extraordinaire, connoisseur of the glasses, and all-around good friend, Jody. What's up, Joe?
What's good, bro? How you doing? How's life been treating you over the past week since the Super Bowl? I guess it's been a couple of days. I don't know what I'm talking about, right? Am I bugging on that?
Yeah. No, it hasn't been that long.
Yeah.
It's been good. Girls basketball officially came to an end for me. We took an
You
L.
what, one and done in the playoffs?
Yeah, we played against a good team. We kind of
Uh-huh.
snuck into the playoffs as a 4 seed, played a 1 seed, and it's March Madness. Anything can happen, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, we took an L. Played tough though. We only lost by 15 points, and
That's
against
not
a team
bad.
that was supposed to beat us by a lot more. And we played hard, so it's good. And now we're officially into track season, so
Yeah.
that's what I
On to
do
the
in the
next
spring
one,
now. On to the next.
huh?
There is no rest.
So what do you coach in track? Like the sprinters or long
Yeah.
distance ones or
So I'm the head track coach. Essentially,
Oh, so you do everything.
I kind of touch everything, but I mainly focus on the sprinters and our relays.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I'll coach jumpers. I'll leave the throwers by themselves, right? Like they got their throwers coach. They do their thing. I don't pretend to
Yeah.
know about all that. Same thing with like the hurdles. They got their hurdles coach. They're good. The
Uh-huh.
distance kids. I'll check in on them. All that good stuff. But yeah, so it's track season now, and like I said, no rest. But this weekend we get the 3-day weekend because of President's Day coming up.
Mm,
So gonna take a little mini vacation for a few days, get out of here,
there you go.
and basically celebrate belated Valentine's Day with Jill. So
Nice,
that's
nice.
kind of
Enjoy
the
that.
plan. That's what I got coming up. I'm excited.
Hell yeah, that's dope. What's do you want to start looking at what happened with our bets and prop picks that we took on
Yeah,
the
dude. So
game?
let's go through the
Because I
Super
know it
Bowl.
was a little rough one for sure.
Yeah, we didn't do too bad. I don't know. We'll go through it. I think the plan for today, for all you joining us, plan is to look at our picks that we handed out, see how we did, good or bad, and then I think we're gonna do a little review of the game, the halftime show, the commercials, and then we'll maybe start talking about what our pre-draft schedule is looking like. But starting off with our review of all the picks that we handed out, Jody, let people know how we did.
Yeah, so I think overall it was probably somewhere around 500, which is, I mean, that's not too bad. But in the end of the day, you want to win more than you don't want to be 500. So it starts off over under. And that was a tough one. That half a point screwed us over. So it was 47.5. We had 47 on the total.
To be fair, it did close at 46.5. So anybody who took the over
Later,
later,
later
you
on.
did hit it. It was Vegas is good. That's what that means. It was
Yeah,
right
yeah.
on the number. But yeah, go ahead.
And then Niners were at -1.5. We both took the Chiefs to win, so we gave that one out money line. That hit, of course. Let's see. Brock Purdy. I had his over on the yards, or no, I had his under on the yards. Sorry, it went over. I think he got 255. We had 247.5. Debo rushing yards. That one was brutal. The the Chiefs D was holding him down. He got stuffed multiple times on sweeps, so he didn't even come close to the 16.5. Went under. We had the Christian McCaffrey touchdown. Of course, that's our guy. When doesn't he score? Brandon Ayuk under receiving, under receptions, 4.5. I did that last time too. I'm dumb. We hit that one for sure. George
Um,
Kittle, man. Go
Ayuk,
ahead.
they were There was a little social media chatter today that
I
I
seen that.
noticed. Yeah,
His like his
sounded like
brother or something, right?
yeah, he was upset. He was upset that the Chiefs limited him. But we talked about that. It wasn't necessarily a game plan thing. I think it was the Chiefs secondary's that good. But
Mhm.
continue.
I mean, that kind of ties into the next one too with George Kittle. We had his over 47.5. My guy got like 5 yards, bro. I, I kind of think he was more hurt than because I don't know if I've ever really seen him wearing that shoulder brace until this week. And then of course he went to the tunnel at some point in time late in the game, and it was like, oh, he's hurt, you know. So I don't know if that was something lingering all year or if that was like the past couple weeks and that just started, which probably kind of plays into why he didn't get many catches. Flipping over the Chiefs, we had Patty Mahomes 264.5. My dude got like 333, I think, if I recall. So he killed that one. Our guy Travis Kelsey 71.5. It didn't look too good in that first half, I'll tell you that. One
A
catch, 1 yard.
lot of the Chiefs props didn't look good in that first half.
Yeah. So we hit that one. We also took him to score. That one did not happen, unfortunately. But I mean, they did win the game, so that's all that truly matters to him. And then we had Isaiah Pacheco rushing yards at 67.5. I think he got like 58 or something close.
Yeah.
That one was brutal. Like I said, that Chiefs or the Niners D was a lot better than we expected coming into this game. So that's another reason as to why their front four was killing it. And
Yep.
then coming into the prop bets that we took, we had heads, gave that one out, money. I told you, it's been like 7 years with the tails. It's bound to hit.
You were right, dude. It was there.
Let's see. The Gatorade was purple, so they ran it back from their last time. So we should have just rolled with
Mamba.
that. But I was hoping, yeah, that too. I was just hoping orange would hit because both colors were red. I figured it would be somewhere mixed in there. Let's see. On the America the Beautiful pick, I gave you Travis Kelsey, but they ended up showing McCaffrey first. If I had said the national anthem, it was flipped. So, you know, missed that one. Yeah. On the national anthem, the line sat at 90 seconds for the total time. It finished at 95, so we hit that one. And then we said there would be a flag that went over 15.5 yards. That one did not hit. There was no downfield PI that we expected. They were actually letting them play a lot pretty consistently in the game till late, like probably close to the end of the fourth. In the overtime, they got a little more strict. And then we said Drake would bet on the Chiefs as he did. He had them money line and something else on stake, as we mentioned. So as a whole, I'd say we probably went somewhere around 500, maybe a little bit under.
Yeah.
But you know, it was a tough weekend for me. I'll tell you that,
Ah.
as you could tell from those picks.
Ah. Well, I mean, better to go 500 than over. So
Yeah, true.
if at
That
first
is
you don't
true.
succeed, try again.
I will say I had the money line. I took the money line. It was basically even. So whatever you paid, you got on the Chiefs, and I hit that one, which was nice. That's probably one of the biggest bets I've made too, in general. So the whole game I was sweating. I was like, "Did I just ruin this in the Super Bowl?" And then it paid off in the end.
uh, all right. So when we look at the game, just kind of thinking first thoughts for me, I think Patrick Mahomes has entered sort of the killer instinct mode that
Yeah.
only very few athletes enter,
Hmm.
where basically it feels like he's going to win and get the job done no matter what the situation
Yeah.
is. Um, Feels like,
A
Brady when he
monster,
beat the
different beast.
Falcons 28-3, down 28-3, or Brady dragging, you know, like the trio of receivers that included like Rashay Caldwell to the AFC Championship. Like it just didn't matter what situation Brady was
Yeah.
in. He was going to win. It felt like every time. Now, obviously, he's not
Hmm.
100% perfect, but it felt you expected it more often than not.
Yeah.
Like Michael Jordan winning the second three-peat coming out of retirement, Kobe, I mean, there's a million times you could say Kobe, but I mean, the first time you think of is game 4 against the Pacers. Shaq fouls out. Kobe's got the bum ankle. Doesn't matter. Like, he just wins the game. Tiger Woods on a Sunday when he's down 3 strokes entering the day, guy comes out with a dub, right? So, I mean, there's more athletes you could name who have entered this mode, but those are like the guys that always come to my mind, right?
Yeah.
Immediately. And I think he's now in that upper echelon of athlete where you're surprised when he doesn't win. I
Yeah,
mean,
no,
I
for
mean,
real.
and I think as long as the Chiefs hung around in that game, the longer that happened, the
Yeah.
more sure
It
I
was gonna show his
became
greatness. Yeah.
that Mahomes was going to win. I mean, you may need to just get my dad on here to verify, but during that game, he was like, the Chiefs just don't have it on offense, and I was like, man, this game is
Well, I
a
mean, we had that conversation too. I was like, "Oh, man, it's not looking good." Like, "He's coming. I feel
I
it."
was
And I
just
was like,
like,
"Alright,
dude,
we'll
you can
see."
just it felt like one of those Brady Super Bowls where it's like, oh, they don't really have it. Oh, they don't look great,
Yeah.
but their
The
defense is good enough
20
to keep
whatever to
them
3?
around, and it
Was
just
it
keeps
28-3?
going. Yeah, I mean, and it was never that bad. I mean, it was
Yeah, it was
10-0.
10
Like,
points. Yeah.
it was never like, oh, they're down 21-0. I mean, it's 10-0. Like,
Yeah.
okay, this guy's gonna figure it out eventually. And then, of
Yeah.
course, that's what happened. So my takeaway was during that game, I felt that way, and coming away, the verification that that's what happened. I
Mhm.
now feel that Mahomes is pretty solidly in that group of athlete where you just expect him to get it done.
Yeah, no, I feel you. It was definitely that once the second half hit, it was like it was bound to happen. Like that's how I think they've done it in all their Super Bowls, you know. The second half hits and they're just keying in on like what they're gonna do, execute well, execute the game plan they went over with the extra time to prepare and then it's just game on, you know. And then it was just Mahomes down to the wire like it's always been for I don't know how many games we've seen in the playoffs alone. So but for me, my thoughts on the game, I mean the Niners came out hot. You know what I mean? Their defense was looking good. I mean that first drive up until Christian McCaffrey fumbled, like they were rolling down with the ball. You know, gaining yards like crazy. And I texted you. I told Johnny I was like, it's their game to lose right now. It's like that whole first half they were killing it, and it looked like they were just gonna run away at some point, which never really happened. It was only 10 points as we mentioned, and it's like what are they not what are they missing down on their drives? Like they're getting decent yards, but they can't finish a drive. And, you know, there's turnovers here and there, which probably led to that a little bit. And then I also, like I mentioned earlier with Kittle, I don't know how truly hurt he was prior to the game because I hadn't noticed the shoulder thing. Maybe he's had it all year, but I did see it this game. And then when he went to the tunnel, it was like, all right, it's pretty bad, you know, at this point. And then I think he only had 5 yards, as I mentioned earlier. It's like he wasn't producing for the squad, and it just wasn't enough for them as a whole to finish the game and take the dub. And in the end, after the whole game, you know, after it concluded, the second half to the overtime was a great game. And most people are probably going to hate on this game saying it wasn't good, you know. Maybe halftime sucked to some people too. And then on top of that, it was like there wasn't good football as a whole. And it's like, how long did you watch? Like, I know some people are like, I'm gonna turn it off. Like, this is boring.
Hey,
You know, it's like,
I
okay,
need
what else
that.
are you gonna watch at this time though?
I need that sound bite cut up, bro. I need that, bro, because that's a great one. No, and the numbers that they released, I mean, this is
Oh,
apparently the most
the
watched
most
Super
viewed
Bowl
thing
ever.
ever.
So anybody saying it was a bad game, you watched it. So
Yeah, no,
so I
exactly.
mean, at the end of the day, let's be honest. Was it a bad game because you don't like seeing teams play good defense, or was
Yeah,
it? I mean, or was it bad because you don't like the Chiefs? I mean, you
true.
know.
That's probably a part of the reason too.
So, I mean, I did want to give out some flowers before we do an ultimate, sort of who won the, not who won the game. We know who won the game, but why. But
Yeah.
first and foremost, the 49ers front four, okay? On this podcast, previewing the game, one of the big points we hit on, we talked about
Hmm.
their lack of pressure with four rushers,
Yeah.
um, was noticeable. Maybe not as noticeable in the regular season, but definitely noticeable in
In
those
the
two playoff
playoffs.
games.
Hmm.
Um, and so we kind of challenged that front four. Not that they listened to us, but I'm sure their coaches were challenging them. That
Yeah,
to play against Mahomes, you got to get pressure with 4 guys. You can't bring extra guys a
definitely.
whole lot. And they stepped up, rose to the challenge. They had 3 sacks, which doesn't sound like a lot. Everyone's like, "Oh, okay, 3 sacks, no big deal."
Mhm.
But you dive deeper. They had 7 hits on the quarterback, and then they
Okay,
had 32 total pressures according to
there you go.
PFF. So Bosa, for instance, didn't record a sack, but he had 12 total pressures. And I think anyone who watched that
Nice.
game and really understands what's going on would certainly tell you he played immensely better than he did against the Lions, even though he got a sack
Yeah.
against the Lions. The 49ers pressured Mahomes on nearly 70% of his dropbacks. He felt pressure, but they rarely
Okay.
blitzed. And when they did, Mahomes burned them. But they didn't do it much, so they were really effective getting home with 4. And then the last thing in terms of giving out flowers here, the kickers.
Yeah,
Okay, this may be
definitely.
another thing why people think the game sucked or whatever.
Uh-huh.
But we saw 2 kickers set records for longest field goal in the Super Bowl. Right, first it
Yep.
was Jake
Yeah.
Moody,
And then
55
he got
yarder.
yoinked like 2 quarters later.
Yeah, and then exactly. A quarter and a half, 2 quarters later, Harrison Butker's in there on a 57-yarder.
Yeah.
And shout out to the Chiefs holder, Tommy Town. I mean, he got that thing down because it was a high snap on the
Uh-huh.
57-yarder, and he got it down. That's impressive. If you've ever held before, which I unfortunately had to do in high school, that is a terrible job. It sucks. And especially when that snap is off, I never
Adam
felt more
Trout?
pressure. I never felt more pressure than when a snap was kind of high and you had to get it down.
Yeah.
Like I'd rather get beat over the top on a touchdown than like having that snap be high. It was terrible. It's a terrible experience if you ever had to do it. But the kickers, they were perfect on field goal attempts. They were obviously near perfect on PATs, with the exception of Moody's getting blocked. That proved to be a major play in the game, obviously.
Uh-huh.
But overall, all the kicks that were not blocked went in. So great day
Yeah.
from the kickers. And, no one's going to say, wow, great kicking. But in this case,
Yeah.
I'm willing to say it because it was that
Yeah.
good.
No, and I'm willing to double down on that. I actually had that. I had special teams written down as a whole. So on top of the kickers, during the punts, we had the quote unquote muff punt where it bounced off the dude's foot, and he should have dove on it for one, but he tried to scoop it up because he knew the play was scrambled, and so that the heads up play for the Chiefs on that definitely is a factor as to why they had that outcome too. And then as I want to give my guy CMC flowers as well as always. My dude had 106 total yard or 160 total yards, 80 catching, 80 rushing, produced for the squad, and then Kelsey, being able to make plays down the stretch after he made sure his guy Andy Reid got his booster this offseason. So, you know, those two for each team, probably the ballers for sure.
Oh, that was good. And I don't know if we said this on the pod or if this was just you to me, but you did tell me about, I don't know, 2
His
months
receiving
ago.
yards?
Yeah,
Oh,
no, well, you asked me if CMC was like top 5 RBs of all time. And I was
yeah.
kind of like, I don't know. Right? I wasn't quite ready.
Uh-huh.
He had like a probably, I mean, it's got to be at least a top 10 season all time for a running back. I mean, like what he
Uh-huh.
did running and receiving, total yardage, production, just how clear it is how much he means to the Niners, especially in an
Yeah.
era where we know running backs are
Running backs
devalued.
are undervalued. Yeah.
It feels pretty historic, and maybe some of the numbers are sort of skewed because of the era that we live in, right?
Yeah.
But the numbers he's putting up, given the era and the context of where we sit, pretty great season for him, and
Mhm.
he may get there. I don't know if I'm ready to put him in that top 5 yet, but he may get there. I'm starting to.
Yeah.
I mean, the performance he had was undoubtedly great. Obviously, the fumble sucked,
Yeah.
but other
That
than
is the
that,
knock,
he
but
was He was fantastic. All right, so when we look in the game, you ask like, why did the Chiefs ultimately win this game? So there's a bunch of stuff floating out there, right?
I mean,
Was
my
it
my obvious answer would be just experience. They've been there 3 years with Mahomes, already
Mhm.
prior to this one, and then it's like the Niners were here for what 4 years ago or something, but more than half that team probably isn't even here. Like CMC wasn't there. They had Jimmy G playing, like a bunch of different factors back then too. So
Yeah.
that is like an obvious answer.
Yeah, no, it is a very different Niners team, and to a certain extent, it's a very different Chiefs team, right? No Tyreek Hill this
True.
time around, and obviously they were able to win it without him last year as well. But I think a lot of the things that people were pointing to, especially you look on social media, of course, and you see what the talking heads are talking about, and do I think it was Shanahan's decision to take the ball first in overtime?
Yeah, that's
No,
tough.
I don't think
I didn't know
that's
the rule changed at that time, to be honest, because it was like there was a wild time at the crib with the kids, so it was like I wasn't really paying attention to the rules. But then after, like the next day, heard on PMT they were talking about it, like, oh yeah, like with the new rule, like they were like, why is the clock on to begin with? It's basically a shootout if everyone's scoring. So they're
Mhm.
like, we don't need the clock for one, and then two, you want to see if they could score a touchdown first, or if they get just a field goal, and then you can go and try and win, which is basically what
Mhm.
happened with the Chiefs. So if I was paying attention, I would have known, but I couldn't. I wasn't hearing nothing at that time.
Yeah. I don't think that decision ultimately cost them the game, though. And I'll talk about that in a second. Was it the fumble by Christian McCaffrey and the punt that hit the 49er that you mentioned earlier?
Uh-huh.
No, I don't think it was that either. Was it
Miss PAT.
Mahomes? Was it Mahomes' greatness? Yes, but no, not that either. All right. These are all fair questions, okay? But I'm going to tell you like the real reason why
Yeah.
the Chiefs ultimately come away with a W here. All those things played a factor. The Niner defense, as they began to wear down, Mahomes started cooking late in that third quarter.
Mm-hmm.
It became clear, right, that hey, he's going to have the juice to win this game as long as his defense holds up.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what happened in the overtime session, right? And that's why
Yeah.
I was advocating for deferring if you're the 49ers, right? Hey, we'll kick it off. We'll defer that decision to the Chiefs, let them take the ball. And so I would prefer to have gotten the ball second if I was Shanahan. But again, I don't think that's the reason they lost the game. Like I said, those are not the primary reasons the 49ers lost. The real reason, you start looking at this thing, that muff punt that let the Chiefs take the lead really did feel like a dagger. And
Yeah.
all the evidence to that point, though, suggests that the 49ers should have had a comfortable enough lead that it should not
Mm-hmm.
have been a dagger. So the
Yeah.
question
I
is,
agree.
why did they not have a greater lead? And you look at it, the Niners had 20 rushing yards on their first drive, which ended with that
Yeah.
McCaffrey fumble, right? Looked
Mm-hmm.
exactly like we anticipated that the Niners would have a major edge in the run game. That was kind of that Chiefs weakness on defense. Even though they were really stingy, you could kind of run the ball on them all
Yeah.
year. But the 49ers only ran the ball for 90 more yards the rest of the game, including overtime.
Yeah.
They only got 60 more yards from McCaffrey. He had all 20 rushing yards in that first series.
Yeah.
He only had 60 for the rest of the game. They averaged only 3.5 yards per carry,
Mm-hmm.
which made Kyle Shanahan pass happy, especially to open the third quarter. Here's the sequence of plays to open the third quarter for the Niners offense. After the interception, right? They go
Uh-huh.
pass, 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 punt. Next series,
Okay.
pass, 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 punt. Next series, run, pass, pass, punt. So they open the second
Yeah.
half, 8 of 9 plays, passes, 3 straight 3-and-outs. They don't take advantage of the Patrick Mahomes interception. That was the moment. And I'm just going to tell you, that's never going to be their recipe for winning until
Yeah.
Brock Purdy
For sure.
becomes as long as Christian McCaffrey is who he is and Shanahan is the head coach, their recipe is not going to be 8 out of 9 passes. I mean,
Nah,
that's just
never
not
that.
what it's going to be. And especially in this game when the strength of the Chiefs was their secondary.
Mm-hmm. That's for
So the
sure.
real reason why the Chiefs won this game, they outgained the 49ers on the ground 130 to 110, which meant the Niners never salted the game away with the lead. They allowed Mahomes a maximum number of possessions because they threw a bunch of incompletions, especially to start that second half.
Leading rusher too.
Now, I will say some of the rushing numbers for the Chiefs are deceiving, right? It's not like they just ran for 130 with Pacheco,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
Mahomes had 9 rushes for 66 yards. Majority of those were scrambles, but his biggest run was a designed run in the fourth quarter or on the fourth
That fourth
down in
down.
in overtime.
Yeah. Eee.
Um, Pacheco, he wasn't great, especially compared to the production he had in the playoffs to this point, but he did enough. And in the end, if you told us before the game that the Chiefs would outgain the 49ers on the ground, then we would have definitely said, oh, yeah, Kansas City's going to win. And that's what happened.
Yeah.
So at the end of the
Yeah.
day, the Niners sort of fumbled, I think, their chances early in this game, in the first half, early third quarter, by not being able to run the ball consistently like we thought they would be able to. Once again, after that first drive, it just didn't happen. And the Chiefs give a lot of credit to Steve Spagnuolo and what they were able to do defensively to get the Niners out of their run game and force them to throw. And
Yeah.
right now, they just don't have the requisite skill set to say we're going to get in a head-to-head duel with Patrick Mahomes and Purdy's going to beat him. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen.
Not gonna
It's
happen.
not. It wasn't. So they kind of lost their advantage that way, and that's why this game turned out the way it did.
Yeah. And I want to make another point to your statement about if you would have been told that the Chiefs were going to outgain them on the ground, they would win. That also kind of ties into where if you have a lead, you got to just run the ball as much as you can, waste the clock. You know what I mean? So that's also going to be true somewhere down the road.
And to be fair to Shanahan, this isn't 28-3, right? I mean, it's not like
Yeah,
they were winning.
true.
They were winning by 10. It was 10-0 and
Yeah.
10-3. But once again, it's less about clock management here and more about your identity and what you're good at
Yeah.
and what was
That's
going to
true.
win you the game. And they kind of got away from it because, to give the Chiefs credit, the Chiefs, I think, forced them to a little bit. And so, just that assortment of facts is what helped the
Yeah.
Chiefs win that game.
Well, yeah. Also, though, I feel like they probably do best based off the run. Hit a play action, and that's when you take your shot to Ayuk down the stretch or
Which
Kittle.
is
So it's like
what
I don't
happened
know.
on
It
that
was
first
going
series. Go
away.
back and watch that first series, that first drive. It was
Yeah.
run, play action, hit him in the flat, right?
Yeah.
Play
Hit the
action,
screen.
hit the dagger in the middle of the field, run, right? And then all of a sudden fumble. And it ruined the momentum they had on that first 15 that Shanahan scripted.
Yeah.
I think that really covers the game. I didn't feel the need today to give you the full film review. I mean, we've seen all that stuff. We know Corn Dog won him the game, right? The motion and why that's so difficult for those guys with the outside release by Kelsey and then Mecole Hardman coming back
That was a
underneath. That's
pretty
always
play.
going to be a far run with the inside DB having to take that out route based on the releases. It's always going to be tough. You got to create rules for that. That's it's a really, really hard one, but you almost got to high-low it with the outside corner, have him drive the first out and give the inside guy time to get to Kelsey on the top side route. But in more fun, sort of maybe appealing to some people, maybe not appealing to others. What did you think of the halftime show, Jody?
All right, so my guy, Usher Raymond, I think he went out there and killed it. I know some people were probably going to say, it wasn't the flashiest thing. We saw Katy Perry bring out a lion one year, rode out on there singing. And my dude was out there just on like a little stage, walking back and forth. I did like the part where he was using the band at a point in time to play the beats to his song. I thought that was really cool. He had the little roll bounce going. He was on the skates, going in circles. There was a point in time we knew what song he's gonna play because a clock showed up on the ground. 7 o'clock on the dot. He's in his drop top, cruising the streets. You know what I mean? I think he did great. We had Alicia Keys on the keys over there, right before my boo. I did hear there was a little voice crack in her voice. Maybe the moment was a little too big at the start, but she killed it too. Everyone dogging them for performing and dancing a little bit with each other. It is what it is.
He said it is
One
what it
hand
is.
maybe to some it's gonna be a little too handy. To others, they're just doing their job. They're performing. And I listened to Shannon, and he was like, her husband probably seen the rehearsal anyway. So if there was an issue with it, he would have told them. So I don't know.
Fair.
There's a lot of questions there. And to close out my little review of halftime, Will Compton tweeted, "Black don't crack," and it felt like we were out there in 03. So essentially what he was saying was everyone was looking fine, and with all the dudes, we had
no.
Ludacris, Lil Jon, Alicia Keys. It just felt like we were back in times, just growing up listening to some bangers. You know what I mean?
Dang. Will Compton is wild.
Bro,
He's wild for tweeting that.
he's
Just
unhinged.
to put
He's unhinged at
wild.
times for sure. But I
He is
love the guy. He's hilarious.
he's wild.
There, before you get into yours, I'll give you another one that he tweeted out recently.
Oh no.
There was a thing that said like former Raider player says that the script is, or something about the script, right? And basically what it is like, Will Compton, former Raider, says that it was in the script for the muff punt or something really dumb, but it was hilarious
Oh my
because this dude
gosh.
just like he loves creating chaos in every
Oh my
situation.
gosh. Yeah, Will Compton, he enjoys being the center of controversy, I think.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
So I'm not particularly a fan of Usher, like just, which is not to say like I don't like him. It just maybe I know like a couple bangers and that's about it. Like I'm
Yeah.
not really familiar with his discography.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that for
Yeah.
sure. But and that also just to quick side note, that seems to be the case for majority of halftime shows.
True.
Like
No,
I
definitely.
generally am not like the biggest fan of anyone they have performing.
Like Lady
Um,
Gaga, like
Yeah.
I don't know
I
much
mean,
about her.
like my kind of dream halftime show is what they did in LA a couple years ago, where it
Yeah.
was like,
Oh, definitely. 50
Snoop
Cent,
and
Eminem, Kendrick,
yes, like
Dr.
the
Dre.
full.
Yeah.
That was kind of
Mary
my
J.
dream halftime
Yeah.
show, to be honest. Like
Definitely.
that was my favorite one of all time because it was just artists that I like. But
Mhm.
I will say this: Usher puts on a show. Like
Yeah.
the showmanship
sure.
was fantastic. Some of his features were fun. Like to me, it's basically a lot of what you look for in a halftime show. Like there's recognizable faces,
Yep.
banger songs, great energy, fun surprises with the choreography and the ambiance. Like you had people out there in skates and doing splits and like
Yeah.
you saw dudes getting tossed in the stands.
and
Like it was
the watching them, yeah.
so solid show in my mind. I mean, it also people are very critical of these halftime shows. It still amazes me that
Mhm.
they put together a stage in like 8 minutes and then they take it apart in like 5 minutes and
Yeah, for real.
they like have this whole thing set up and it's like, whatever it ends up being like 10, 15
It's
minute
a
show,
time
but
crunch, literally. Yeah,
they put in a year's work to get this done. So I always appreciate it. I
definitely.
always think it's pretty good. I do have a question for you. We
What's
talked
up?
about the different acts we've seen, everything.
Yeah.
Who would you like to see in next year's Super Bowl be the halftime show?
All right, so this one I've heard talks of it already just because of the location. So it's gonna be in New Orleans.
Okay.
And no other great artist from there than our guy, President Carter, my guy, Lil Wayne.
See, I like that one.
That would
takes
be
me back to
fire.
like
And then you end up
middle school, high
with
school
Drake
era.
and probably Nicki Minaj too. Like that's some
Ooh.
heat right there, bro.
Ooh.
That's all I'm gonna say.
The old school YMCMB?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Maybe even DJ
Oh.
Khaled for fun because why not at that point? He's just out there on the turntables.
Nothing would be funnier than DJ
best
Khaled, we the
music.
best music. Nothing would be
All I
funnier.
do is win.
Oh man. All right, I like that one. I'm with you on that. But let's book it,
Weezy
dude.
F,
Let's
man.
see if we can get it in. Last note, I want to apologize to Will I Am. I thought he was Kanye West when he first came in on the show. I was like, is that
there was
Kanye?
another point. It was like CeeLo
was like-
Green at some point too. I
was like,
missed that
what?
one.
Who? I honestly was just sitting there looking at it. And I was like,
Yeah.
who is that? Like, I think that's Kanye West. And then I
No,
realized it was
I
Will I
definitely,
Am.
I will say, I definitely thought it was Kanye, but I was like, Kanye has no ties to Usher like that. And then the song played, I was like, oh, that's Will I Am. I was like, I know that because they got that song together. So yeah, that one was a tough one. And then, oh man, I do this all the time where I want to say something and then I forget. Oh, I remember. So I was gonna say it's all the halftime's also tough as a whole because you either play a lot of like a couple songs, you know, or you play a lot like or like little snippets of a lot of songs, you know. If there's no, you got to either take a lot like 3 good songs
that's a
and
fair
then
point.
someone
Those are
that
tough
you bring
decisions.
in, or if you got like I'm gonna play 30 seconds of like 10 songs and then let the
Yeah.
dude come in. So yeah, that's another snippet of the halftime show being tough as a whole. But the things that get in between all those, you know, we got the game, we got a break, we got the halftime, we got breaks. Talking about commercials here. What was your favorite commercial on the day?
All right. Mine was probably the Dunkin' Donuts, the Dunkings with Ben Affleck and Matt Damon and Tom Brady. That was hilarious, bro. Hey, J-Lo is like embarrassed the whole time.
Yeah.
He's like, she supported me at my work. I gotta support her at hers. Bro, that was so funny. They nailed like the whole thing. I thought it was hilarious. Also, I'm hyped for the new Deadpool movie because of the trailer they released.
It has the Wolverine, yeah?
Yeah, feel like it's gonna be awesome with Wolverine. And then like just Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds like are genuinely friends. And I think they're hilarious together. So I'm just thrilled to see them on screen in those roles. I think it's gonna be so funny. So I'm excited
I think
about
Deadpool
that one.
as a whole is hilarious. And so then you just combine two, you're getting that crossover of X-Men and that. It's going to be crazy. And then, so yeah, that's going to be exciting for sure. Even for Marvel fans as a whole, you know? But for me, my commercial that I really liked was the Arnold Schwarzenegger with the State Farm. Yeah. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. And they're like, cut. And then they're like, he's like, this woman's in labor. I lost it on that one. That one set me through the roof. And I looked over and I was like, this got to be the best one yet right now. But I didn't like the ending where they was that Danny DeVito. Is that guy's name?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like how they brought him in. They're like, I got this. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. I was like, come on, bro. We need one more like a good neighbor. State Farm is there.
Well, you know that's a callback to a movie they did together. I got to remember what it's
called. You know, piece it together.
I think it's okay, hold on 1 second. I got it.
All right, well, I'll get you another commercial I liked. This one I'm a little sad about though because it was released earlier or I guess prior to the Super Bowl. It was like leading up.
Okay, sorry. It's Twins. Yeah. That is the name of the movie. I knew it was Twins, but I just couldn't remember. They're in the movie together. It's 1988, so it predates us by quite some time. But it is a good movie. It's pretty funny, actually.
Okay. All right, I'll definitely have to check that out, get the reference. But yeah, so have you seen you probably saw the Paramount commercial. I don't know if you saw it before the Super Bowl.
Can you take me higher?
Yeah. So that one was released prior to the Super Bowl, and I thought it was hilarious. But then when I saw it, I was like, it's not gonna be as cool when the Super Bowl comes around because it's already out. But I really like, you had the music, and that's always like the Dallas Cowboys like halftime that everyone always posts. You got the Hey Arnold, like, oh, it's a football, let me chuck it. You got Tua on the screen. You got Peppa the Pig. They're like, we need some pigskin to throw up there now because we couldn't do it the first time. Like, as a whole, I thought it was hilarious, but it's just I had already seen it, so it didn't hit the same.
The thing that always gets me on that commercial is "Shut up, Barrymore." uh, all right. Well, I guess that wraps up the Super Bowl. Honestly, puts a bow on the 2023-2024 season.
Yeah, came to an end. Also
Appreciate all
quick.
you guys, listening. Make sure you hit the subscribe, right? All that
Yeah,
good stuff.
please.
And
Everywhere. YouTube, Spotify, Apple, TikTok, if you got that. Wherever you get this this podcast, make sure you smash that button. Leave the reviews.
if you've been with us this long, keep sticking with us because just because the 2023-2024 season is over doesn't mean we stop, fellas. Doesn't mean
Preparation.
we stop. We're still going. All right. We're starting on 2024-2025 now. The new season starts right now. Okay.
Fact. The
Um,
Bears are on the clock.
the Bears are on the clock, right? We got draft prep galore. This is almost, if we're being honest with ourselves, draft prep season is probably the most fun other than like when we're in the playoffs, I would say.
Yeah.
Like this stretch from playoffs to draft, probably the most fun time for us. The
Yeah.
worst part is the
It was
dead period
different.
of the summer because there's
Yeah.
just not much to do except predict things and hope, right? But the draft
Get all the
is
takes
really
out.
fun. We get to watch. We had a lot of success last year in our draft prep, looking at the different position groups.
Yeah.
There were some guys we missed on, but there's a lot of guys we hit on. All right, and
Yeah. And not
so
only
I'm
that, it helped
excited.
with like fantasy for some people too. I'm assuming I mean, there was the sleeper of like Jahmyr Gibbs a little bit because he went a little early to some people where we both liked him. Probably, I think me more than you, but yeah, at the end of the day, he was definitely a good player. JSN started to like come in his feet later in the year with Geno. Just and what was the killers was the defensive dudes, Devin Witherspoon, Sidney Brown, even a little bit for the
Love
Eagles,
those
just all
guys.
around. Yeah.
Loved them. So if you're gonna want to tune in, we'll give you a quick breakdown of what our schedule is gonna look like leading up to the draft. Next week, we're gonna start our breakdown by talking about edge defenders, all the pass rushers on the edge.
Nice, nice.
We're gonna give you each of us are gonna give you our top 5, similar to what we did last year. If you listened last year, so we'll give you the top 5 at each position. We're gonna break down each guy, why they're ranked, where they're ranked. Give you some film cut ups to study, all that good stuff, and their key attributes. And then we'll even give you a pro comp, past or present.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to start with edge players next week. The week after, we'll get into some tight ends. And then as we go, we'll get D-line, O-line, linebackers, running backs, corners, safeties. And we're going to finish with the quarterbacks because that's what everyone wants to hear. So we'll get the most data possible by getting as close to the draft on those guys as possible. And so that'll be the last one we do. And then I think we're looking this year to step our game up a little bit and do a mock draft the week of the draft before the draft releases.
Ooh, right before?
Yeah, get that out, and then we'll watch the draft and we'll do draft review. So that's our next few months. We're gonna put the time in so that you guys don't have to. We'll show you the film. Come on here, watch, listen, learn, and hopefully be prepared for the draft so that when you get into round 3 and you're hearing names, you know who they are.
Definitely.
But Joe, I think that's it. We're super excited, and we appreciate everyone who listens.
Facts. And until then, our guy Ray Ray taking us out.